When I think about what it means to be literate, I can't help but think about my own personal journey. I grew up a very happy and outgoing child. As a kindergartner, I wanted to learn to read more than anything. I can remember putting my children's dictionary in my backpack every day in first grade, and I would pretend I knew how to read it. I would make up words or stories based on the pictures. I knew reading was important at an early age. My dad would try and read to my sisters and I at night whenever possible. I remember that I would memorize the books he would read to us so that I could enjoy the books when he was not at home. I remember my two favorites were Each Peach Pear Plum and The Little Mouse, The Red Ripe Strawberry, and The Big Hungry Bear. Even though I wanted to learn to read more than anything, it was not going to be an easy task for me. In second grade, I was diagnosed with a learning disability and began receiving services to help improve my reading abilities. As the grades went by, I felt different from my peers. Everything always seemed easier for them than it was for me. As I got older, I started to notice that my mom had a very hard time learning how to read. When I would ask her for help with my homework, she would tell me to wait until my father got home. At that age, I didn't understand that my mom had dyslexia. Later, she would explain to me that she made it all the way to the 10th grade without learning how to read. I'm still amazed to this day that she's made it that far. Even though she could barely read, she was always able to manipulate her teachers with her outgoing personality and positive classroom presence. My mom was able to mask her inability to read with her hidden literacies. She was a master of oral communication. Literacy is more than just the ability to read and write. It is also the ability to communicate effectively. All students, but especially students with learning disabilities, are becoming literate with the help of these new technologies or approaches to communication. Teachers are using technology to differentiate instruction like never before. Teachers are using tools such as scaffolded text and web quests to inspire critical thinking in their students. It wasn't until 7th grade and American history with Mr. Cook that I started to like school again. I loved listening to his lectures on the American Revolution and Civil War. I would go home and research American history on the internet in my free time. At the time, I had no idea that I was actually spending lots of time reading history. I just thought I was having fun. My interest in the subject made reading a task I typically hated more enjoyable. My experience in Mr. Cook's classroom in 7th and 8th grade ultimately impacted my decision of becoming a teacher. What I have learned in this reflection on what is literacy is that reading, once a struggle of mine, was ultimately the key I needed in order to explore the world. I want my students to know that books can take you anywhere. Technology helps guide and support 21st century learners in their journey to become literate. Students will do more than just learn to read and write in school. They will become producers and consumers of technology. As they create, evaluate, and analyze, students will become literate in a completely new way. As a teacher of 21st century learners, it is important to me to make sure my students understand why they are learning to be literate. It's important for me that they develop a love of learning at an early age, because with literacy comes opportunity.